Friday afternoon at 4:30. It only means one thing. This is the Audible. Good afternoon. I'm Kim Bokamper. Hard for me to say it, hard for me to believe it, but look who's sitting next to me right now. My old pal Joe Rose. Get ready, strap it on. This could be a little bit of a wild ride here, Joe. It's been a long time since you and I have been together in one of these type of settings, right?
The only difference is we're not sitting here drinking beer talking about the team. We're actually doing it here on the Dolphins facility.
Well, we're only on for a half hour, Joe. We're only on for a half hour. We can chill them up right now and get going afterwards. Hey, got a lot of stuff to get to on the show. We're going to try to get to as many of your questions. We've kind of been working through the questions here a little bit. I think we've got everything up to speed. So if you got your questions, send them into Facebook. This is an interactive program. We want you to be a part of it. We want you to drive the show, and we'll head off in the direction that you want to take us. So we'll be with you for a half hour. A lot of stuff to get to. Going to talk to Joe, who's been down here. You did a show down here this morning for WQM. Joe, the color commentator for Dolphin football on WQM. Joe Rose, Jimmy Cephalo. You're going to have Jason Taylor during the preseason, Bob Greasy during the regular season. And I was mentioning this when we had Jason in the other day. Mm-hmm. You know, how many years have you been doing the radio broadcast?
I think, what are we at? I want to say, is this 10, 11, 12?
It's got to be somewhere around there. Because I mentioned Jimmy. I said he's been doing it for 10, 12 dozen years, something like that.
Yeah, it's been fun. By the way, mentioned Jason Taylor. I think it's going to be great having him. He's still got a good relationship with guys like Cam Wake. Yep. He just mentioned things. You know, we had a meeting the other day in here, Bo, you were part of, and he was talking about in 15 years, he thinks he had 2 sacks in preseason, talking about he worked on things. He wasn't worried about getting stats in the preseason. Yep. He was working on things, and, you know, he'll bring stuff like that I think will really spice up the preseason, especially in that third and fourth quarter when it can get ugly at times.
And he's a technical guy. He likes to talk to, and quite frankly, it's been a long time since, you know, you guys finally got a defensive guy up there in the booth. Yeah. So all the offensive guys up there. Now you got someone up there talking about defense.
Bob defending all the quarterback throws and everything, exactly.
No doubt about it. Hey, Joe, let's turn our attention a little bit here as we get going to training camp, week 1 in the books now. And what have you seen that you like after a week?
I like Jarvis Landry. I got to get past Jarvis Landry because he had one of those practices today when the offense wasn't necessarily really good. But, Bo, he put on a clinic catching the ball. He plays with the fans. He was just unbelievable today in the back of the end zone. He's just on a mission right now and coming off a real good season. Wants to get more yards per catch. Yep. He's working on certain things.
I think he was 9.9. I think he's 9.9 for a career. Yard per catch. You'd like to get there to 11, 12, 13 for him. Cause
you know what I've noticed from Jarvis Landry through this first week at camp? He's catching a lot more deep passes.
Yes.
He's getting separation. Yes. He works so hard on his speed and his moves and getting separation. I think he's done a real good job. So I got to start with Jarvis Landry because he's been so good. Hey, things I like right now, that defensive line, Bo, has the veterans, they're aggressive. Yep. I think you get a feel of what Vance Joseph wants to do with this defense. You know, part of it, when we talk about coaching and stuff, it's guys buying into what you're selling, what the coordinator, hey, this is what we want to do. And these guys, you know, they want to be good.
Yep.
I don't care what you make. You want to be good. Nobody wants to get embarrassed. The defensive front seven's really gotten off to a nice start.
Well, you know, Vance has brought in that wide 9 look, and they're trying to spread their defensive ends out, kind of spread that defensive line out, playing the tackles a little bit wider too. Puts a little more pressure on the linebackers to make plays in there, but it also, as a defensive end, man, it gives you that great angle to go at the quarter and get to him quickly because that tackle's got to get back. So I think it's going to be interesting to watch that. It's been a little tough on the offense trying to get the ball out of there sometimes because these guys have been putting so much pressure on it. And speaking of that, we've got a couple questions. Let's go ahead and get to them early. Andre Clifford and John Herringer are same person, maybe. I'm not sure. You know, I can't get a Joe Smith, you know? I got Andre Clifford, John Herringer. Is that one whole name? Leon, is that one whole name or what? That's one whole name. All right.
You know what? He's a fan, but we'll just call him a good fan.
Good fan. He asked, what are the real expectations for the offense this year based on what you've seen?
All right, that's a great question because early in camp, you know, everybody's worried about the offensive line. Everybody knows about the 4 first-round picks that are on this team right now. They're moving guys guard and tackle. There's been a little frustration because it hasn't come together. Everybody wants it from day one. I'm actually not worried as I sit here, and they had a rough time again today blocking guys at times. I'm not worried about those guys. I think this is the best group of talent. I think Laramie Tunsil, Bo, whether it's guard or tackle, is only going to get better and better and better. He's got so much talent, and he got a little nastiness to him that I just think he's so strong-minded. He knows he's a first-round pick. I think he's going to end up being a really, really good player, and not next year. I think he'll help him this year. I love the competition at guard that's going on. They're also getting their backups ready to go. They're getting that sixth man and seventh man. First tackle, first guard.
One thing we know, Joe, from what we saw last year, there's better depth on that offensive line. I mean, we're not going to find ourselves in a situation where a guy or two goes down and you're sitting there, oh, geez, you're holding your breath every time the quarterback goes back. So I think we're in a better position as far as depth in that offensive line, along with upgrading with a guy like Tunsil to add some strength to that position.
I think when they put everything in, they're going to be fine. Please don't try to look at what's going on in the first week of camp and decide that's what you're going to see in September. Don't do that to yourself. Sometimes, listen, I got fan in me. I do it sometimes too. Let it all come together. Devontae Parker's not practicing one day. Ajayi's not practicing one day. Until they put everything in and they isolate and they get matchups they want. This guy, Adam Gase, Coach Christensen, they know what they want to get done. Bo, I think it's going to be a big upgrade, starting with the coaching and then these guys buying in.
It's amazing. You talk about Adam Gase, and along with Adam comes, we've seen Wes Welker out here. Chris Chambers has been out here working with receivers. Yeah. And then earlier this week, you had Peyton Manning, and Shauna Weaver asked a question, have the visits from Peyton with Tannehill looked like they've made a difference yet in practice? A little bit too early to tell on that, but I know this. It can't hurt for you to have Dan Marino standing on the sideline each and every day and in meeting rooms at time, and have Peyton Manning standing on the sideline. It can't hurt your football team. It certainly can't hurt Ryan Tannehill, Brandon Doughty, or any of the, or Matt Moore, or any of the quarterbacks that are dealing with those guys, to have those guys wandering around your practice field.
I just want to tell you, it'll be the only time you see 1,000 touchdowns in their career next to each other, 1,000 touchdown passes. It's impressive. Hey, they're brought in. I love. Can we start with Dan Marino?
Yep.
Dan Marino, I get asked all the time, Joe, what's his role? He's not pushy, but he's there if you have questions. He's been in every situation. He's seen every blitz. He's been knocked down by every guy. What are you looking for when your offense? Hey, Dan Marino had years when the offensive line wasn't very good, so he's had to deal with all the things. So Ryan Tannehill's got a guy to go to. Dan Marino's not going to go to Ryan, and he doesn't go, hey, this is the way you do it if you're going to be. He doesn't do that, but he's always there. If he has any questions, I like that. And I thought Peyton Manning came in and did the same thing, talked about Adam Gase, talked about him, some things that he could work on. Nobody's trying to step on Ryan Tannehill's toes, but at the same time, they're there talking about things to look for, talking about the highs and lows of the game. Don't let too many voices get into your ear. Know who you can. I just like all those things. You're talking about two guys that have played in so many football games. The knowledge is incredible.
Look at what do you think the players on that team think when they see a Peyton come out, when they see a Wes Welker come out? You see these guys come out, and they're coming out to see Adam Gase because they're close. What does that tell them about Adam Gase? And how much more does it allow them to buy in to the type of coach he is? If you've got guys like Peyton Manning, like Wes Welker, these guys coming out here to be around him, to be near him because they've been with him as a coach. Right. It's got to send a pretty strong message to all those guys trying to make that 53-man roster.
Adam Gase, he's told you the same thing. I want a lot of fans at practice because it's good. It gets our guys fired up. It's a feel of a scrimmage. And second of all, I want all the great players to come out that have been really good in the National Football League. I want them around because guys are going to want to play well. I know how it is. We used to bring out the undefeated Dolphin guys when we were playing. Man, I wanted to look good in front of Zonka. When Grease came back or Paul Warfield came out, man, I wanted to look good. I didn't want to have a crummy practice where they're going, geez, where'd we – You don't want to be the guy to let the party down. You want to make sure they understand you're a big part of it. And I think that's what Adam Gase wants to build. He wants those guys like Wes Welker, who's got a zillion catches. He wants all those guys to come out here. I like the fact that Adam Gase, even though he didn't play in the NFL, he loves it, loves having those guys out there. We've had coaching staffs in the past, and I'm not saying any names. I'm not here to stir it up like I usually do, but A lot of them didn't like having NFL guys around. They're used to doing it a certain, I don't want that guy around. You might mess up my coaches and stuff. He embraces all those guys being here.
This is the Audible. We will be with you for about a half hour until about 5 o'clock. With you every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 4:30 during training camp. Throw your questions in via Facebook. We'll answer them. I'm going to go to another one right now. And, Joe, this is when I was going to go on from what you like about Week 1 to what's discouraging a little bit, or what are you concerned about at Week 1. And this kind of leads into that for me. Austin Ford asks, who's most likely to get the starting job at running back? And, Joe, it may be the most healthy guy because, you started off, Jay Ajayi gets dinged up a little bit. Arian Foster comes in. He's coming off that Achilles. He misses the first couple of days of practice. He's out there now. And then Kenyon Drake now, your rookie out of Alabama. He's down a little bit with a tweak. So, my concern with that running back crew is who's going to be the healthiest and who's going to be the best out of that group when you get ready to line up.
I think when coach sits down and decides who's going to be on this team, I don't think we're going to have one guy. You just mentioned Arian Foster's had 4 or 5 surgeries, back surgery, knee surgery. You talked about the Achilles. He looks really, really good, but his big question is how many hits can he take? Bo, don't be surprised if all those guys you mentioned, plus Damian Williams in there as well, they're all going to get a lot of carries. And it could be week to week. Who's healthy is going to get the carries. But I don't see any one guy getting 20 to 25 carries in a game. I don't think it's going to happen with this group. I think they can all be productive. I think you got to look at yards per carry and not get caught up in how many carries they're getting in the game. I think it's going to be week to week. We're already seeing it. A bunch of guys have been banged up at that position.
You talk about splitting things up, too. I wouldn't be surprised if you see Jakeem Grant, if he keeps playing the way he's playing, get some situations. You can imagine Adam Gase wanting to get him in the backfield, get him in one-on-one with some of those linebackers out there, the way this little kid can run. So, there may take away some more opportunities for those running backs. But I think that's going to be one of the interesting positions. Along with that, Joe, the other concerns, Devontae Parker, man, when he's been out on the football field, he has been an absolute beast. Yep. This guy goes up after everything. If the ball's up for grabs, if it's a 50-50 ball, he comes down with the ball. But here he was, dinged up again, missed a couple days of practice, and he's had his injury problems since he's been here, and that's got to be a concern in the back of everybody's mind. Great athlete, great player, great potential. Can he stay on the field long enough to get the job done?
Bo, before he got hurt, tweaks his hamstring. He just was playing out of his mind. You go, hey, that's a first-round pick, big target, 6'3" on the outside, really looks quick. And these drills that you see, boy, you talk about, you see it. He's just screaming. He can be good. But, Bo, you got to stay healthy in this. Look at the way he moves. He moves like he's 5'10". Got great movement. He's athletic. I get it, man. But you got to stay healthy. You got to get out there. And listen, the more practice he misses, the more timing he misses with Ryan Tannehill and Matt Moore and the rest of those guys. You got to get out there. I think that's been the most frustrating thing for me. All the guys that are missing a practice or two. And again, it's just camp, but it is a little frustrating.
Joe, you know what? There's you talk about being a pro. There's a lot of things about being a pro. You got to learn to practice. You got to learn to be on time. You got to learn to be someone that they can trust, that you're going to be where you're supposed to be. All those things are part of becoming a pro, but you also got to learn how to stay healthy in this league. Everybody's throwing their bodies around. You got big bodies out there. Everyone's looking to take you out of the game. You've got to figure it out. And I think some way, somehow, Devontae's got to figure out a way to keep himself healthy out there.
I heard the story about Devontae Parker. He felt it, but he thought he could play through it. I mean, you've got to know your body.
I know back at San Jose State, we had a lot of guys who used to call them near pulls. Hey, Coach, I got a near pull. I'm gonna sit out this series. I got a near pull, right?
I always crack up. When Mark Clayton and Mark Duper, two of the best that we played with in the 80s, when they felt a little tired, or you have to worry about them on Sunday ever, but if they were feeling it and there was a drill that they weren't feeling it on, it had a lot of running in it, and it was in the middle part of the season, I feel something a little light in there, and you don't know about the old hamstring, but you didn't want to lose those guys.
I think Larry Little taught him that a little bit. Talk that a little. Hey, let's go to here. John Ferris sends in a question. Have you seen great leadership from both sides of the football? Leadership is something that this team, I think, is kind of searching for in that locker room. A lot of change. I mean, I don't know if fans really realize this, but these teams now, the turnover rate in the National Football League for every team, whether you won the Super Bowl or won one game last year, turnover rate's about 35 to 40% per team. So you got leaders that come and go, and you got guys like Olivier Vernon that was here, that was kind of playing that role a little bit, and some guys that have come and gone. Brent Grimes, he's not here anymore. Who steps in and fills some of that leadership role?
I can tell you they huddled up offensively. They're having a bad drill, and I saw one guy in the middle letting everybody have it, and it was Jarvis Landry. And I was like, way to go, man. That is great to see. Jarvis Landry really got after guys, and I'm thinking, boy, he was the offensive line. They're 30-year-old offensive lineman. He's letting them all have it about things. He walks it. He walks toughness. He talks toughness. He to me is just jumps out. I think Pouncey's in there to get guys going. He's got to be telling himself. I talked to him this morning. Man, we got to be good. Listen, this group. What else can they do for us, guys? 4 first-round picks, couple third-round picks. Everybody's got experience. It's not outside of Laramie Tunsil, who's one of the top picks in the draft. No excuses. So they have some guys on this team, and I think defensively they got a lot of veteran guys that understand. I think Ndamukong Suh
that's a guy
is really trying.
I think he was kind of feeling his way out around here last year. But I've seen a difference between him last year and this year, point. And I think he's ready to take that little more vocal role. He's kind of a guy he's kind of a loner a little bit. Kind of, he's a different guy, kind of marches to his own beat. But I've seen in him reaching out a little bit. So I think he's going to be one of those guys this year on the defensive side of the football that's going to give you the leadership that we're looking for. Hey, you're listening to the Audible here. You can go ahead and catch us every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday throughout training camp. We'll be with you at 4:30. Any questions you've got, Facebook, we're Facebook Live. Just go ahead and send them on there and we'll get to you. Got one here from Bob Smith. Pretty good question, and probably leads to another question that was on here before. Hernan Gonzalez threw this question, so I kind of put him in. Bob Smith asked, what are we doing at free safety? And then Hernan asked a little bit about, what about going after a veteran corner out there maybe?
Well, I'm glad you brought up the corner. I'm concerned. I don't know if we have the guys on this team. They're all going to get to play early in the preseason. They're going to have to look. Don't be surprised. And again, I'm getting way ahead of myself because we're not close to making cuts. We still got a few weeks to go. Don't be surprised if we go out looking to pick up some players from other teams. We've got scouts out at everybody else's preseason games for teams that look like they might have more talent at secondary and can't keep that 6th or 7th guy. Don't be surprised the Miami Dolphins are looking to pick some guys off, maybe even potentially trade with whatever. We have extra players with somebody else's extra, and somebody else's 5 or 6 could be our 3 or 4.
Oh, look, they go out and they get the kid from Tampa, Lanzana, another linebacker.
Right.
So they're looking. So they're going to continue to look and continue to find combinations and people that'll work for them to get this going. Hey, Luis Hernandez asks, so where is the sports science? There's been a lot of talk about sports science and this, and I don't even know how to answer that because that's one of those things that, unless you're in there in that locker room, all I know is this team is stronger than they were last year. They've made some changes in their weight room. They're stronger than they were last year. And look, they've got every guy walks off the field. He's got a personal drink that's set up for him for his chemical balance or whatever. I don't know how it works. But I do know this. The people I've talked to, the players I've talked to, they've embraced it. They feel it's good for them. And, Joe, you know what? It's kind of like a placebo sometimes. If you think it's working, if you feel like it's making you better, you make it better. It's a little bit beyond my scope of what it is. But all I can tell you this, Lewis, is that everybody I talk to, every player I talk to about it, they're all on board.
I think everybody's doing it. But Bo, it's going to get back to the players. I mean,
absolutely.
We can talk about cardio and who's working the hardest, and we can talk about protein drinks, and we can talk about carbs and having energy and endurance at the end of the game. At some point, we need to talk about football players.
Yep. No, you're right.
And we got to talk about guys that we draft being good and guys finding ways to get something in there to win in the fourth quarter and play good football late in games when you got a chance to win, changing the culture around here to learn how to be winners. They're doing everything they can. Sports science, analytics. This owner, whatever you think, he'll spend money. If you tell him.
The ammunition's there.
Oh.
It's all there.
Hey, we need this. You got it. We need new music, man. If you get me music, get me all fired up before. Here's the best system out there. He spends money. At some point, we got to look at the guys on the football field, and it's got to be about them.
Yeah, Joe, I've got, going into this training camp, I always try to come up with a couple things that I'm really I'm looking for this team to make a difference at. And my two things this year from day one was this. I don't want to talk about coaches. This coach, I don't care about this coach. I don't that coach. I don't think he like. You know what? Forget about coaches. Forget about all the ancillary stuff. It's about 53 guys that are committing themselves to go out and play for the guy that's standing next to them on this side and the guy standing on this side and go out and make. Coach Shuley said, be the guy that make plays to help us win games, not the guy that makes plays that helps us lose games. And that's what these guys need to be. Along with that line, again, I go back to a lesson I learned being with Coach Shula for the entirety of my career. They've got to find a way to cut down on penalties. The self-inflicted wounds, big self-inflicted wounds that this team has delivered to themselves with penalties, stopping drives, giving the other team short fields to work on. All those times, I think, have absolutely devastated this team over the last couple of years. And I firmly believe if you can get that down, if you can narrow that down, if you can become one of the least penalized teams in the league, that could mean the difference between winning 2 games or losing 2 games over the course of the year. You saw it happen a lot during your career with the Dolphins down there.
I will tell you the penalties, it's a great point. Penalties have been a huge problem on both sides of the football where you stop people and you get a stupid penalty too. Instead of being at 3rd and 3, you're at 3rd and 8. Well, you start getting in 3rd and long situations, and that's how you find yourself 31st in the National Football League in 3rd down, which kills drives, stops drives. Yep. Your defense is out on the field more, leads to all kinds of team frustration.
Well, then you get on the defensive side and you jump off sides, and now they start at 1st and 5.
Which gives them an option to run takeoffs and do lots of things that make it tough. It's hard to get stops. And if you give people extra downs, you're asking for trouble for sure.
No question. Listen to the Audible here. I'm Kim Bokamper. This is Joe Rose.
I like this, man. Don't stop. Can we go an extra hour on this? Time's flying, man. This is great stuff.
I'm going to tell you what. You and I will sit here for an extra hour. They'll shut it off. It'll just be me and you talking. And
we do that
anyway, so it doesn't make a difference. Hey, get your questions in on Facebook. We'll do it each and every day. Kevin B. Jackson says, are we going to be a pass or run-heavy football team?
I think we're going to be a little more pass and run. I know everybody talks about balance and we're going to get physical. And we're going to look for matchups. We're going to look to beat people one-on-one. Adam Gase is going to find the best matchups. He's going to attack them. I think we're going to be throwing the football, man. The league is set up with the rules and regulations they have to throw the rock. That's what they're doing, man. It's about pass protection. It's about throwing it. It's about catching it. It's about breaking tackles. Bo, I think that's what it's going to be. I'm not saying the running game's going away. Still going to be a big part of it.
This is what I believe, Joe. That running game, you don't have to run the ball 30, 40 times a game, but you darn near better have a good threat to run the football.
Great.
Because you can't go out there with no threat of running the football, and people are just going to pin their ears back, and it's going to be impossible. But if any offensive coordinator in the league, they tell you the same. If I can hand the ball off on 1st down and get 4 yards, I'll do it every series because then the options open up for me: run pass, short pass, screen pass. I can go deep. I can take chance. I can do different things. You've got to establish that they've got to be successful. Again, you don't have to have a 1,500-yard rusher, but you better have a guy that back there, those linebackers are going, I better watch that guy because he can be that guy.
He threat, especially in a 3rd and 3.
Yes.
I go back to 3rd and 3, 3rd and 2. You can do so many things. If you keep them, the Dolphins got to get back in 3rd and 2 and 3, manageable 3rd down situations. Yep. Those 8, 9, 10, and 11s, man, they don't work here. They don't work anywhere.
I as a defensive end, as being in a defensive huddle my whole life, you got 3rd and 10, you got 3rd and 11. You're salivating. You're licking your chops, man.
Guys,
you're standing in that huddle and you're going, "Hey, come on, guys, let's have some fun.
Right.
Let's run some games. Let's screw with these guys a little bit." And as an offense, you just can't put yourself in that position. It makes it too difficult. Kevin Jackson, I got you that one. Bob Smith, we got that one. Where are they at? I lost one on here. Domingo Soto. There we go. We're going to talk about this. I wanted to get to this anyway. Tight ends. We haven't talked about tight ends at all. Domingo Soto sends it in, so I'm going to go ahead and go. Jordan Cameron, I'd like to see more out of him than we've seen so far at training camp.
I forgot those guys are on the team.
Sims is Deion Sims. He's going to block for you. He's going to be a tough guy. And the kid out of UCLA, Thomas Duarte. Looks like he's a nice route runner. To me, kind of a tweener. Was a wide receiver at UCLA, converted to a tight end. Looks probably kind of like the height-wise of a wide receiver. little bulkier. I mean, I'm be interested to see what we get him. Runs routes well, catches the ball well.
I'm looking forward to. He's one of my top 5 or 6 guys during the preseason. I'm looking forward to seeing. We have not seen a lot in the red zone. We have not seen a lot in practice from the tight ends, having a little fun with it. It's a position that they want to get more production out of. Early on in camp, though, haven't seen a lot. Boy, you need guys who can run down the hash marks, make those tough catches, and a lot of them are tough. We're talking about making catches where safety's coming up to pop you and linebackers coming. There's a real tight window in there. Go up and catch it. Catch the ball, give up your body. That's what we need, and we got to get more production in the red zone. Jordan Cameron, though, it's got to start with him. He's got to be the guy. Adam Gase said, hey, I really want you. I didn't think they used you the right way last year. Come on back, man, and play for me. I can get more production out of you. So he's got to be the first guy. He's a veteran. He's put up big numbers in the past. He needs to have a big season.
John, you look around the National Football League, you look at the teams that are in the playoffs and have success. And this league has turned into a league where the tight end has become a major weapon out there, and we've got to find that guy on our football team,
Totally
someone
agree.
that can make that happen for you, because you spread those guys out, you spread your receivers out, and then you run those tight ends down the middle of the field. Boy, it puts a lot of pressure on those guys. So that would go a long way to helping this offense churn the way that Adam Gase is looking for.
Looking in back of the end zone, a lot of matchups with linebackers where they're in pretty good position but don't know where the football is. That's where Jordan Cameron's really got to have a big season.
Yeah. Danny Morin says, do you think we'll utilize Tannehill's athleticism a little more this season? I'm going to go ahead and translate that. Are they going to let Ryan Tannehill run a little more this year?
That's a great question. He's been better with that read option. That was a big part of really got Ryan Tannehill going 2 years ago. I think they are going to do some different things with him, but the thing right now they're working on is they want Ryan Tannehill to get rid of the football. Yep. They don't want to sit back there and take 7, 8, 9-yard sacks that just kill you, kill morale of a team. They just destroy anything you got going, talking about putting you in third and long situations. There's nothing worse than a 7, 8, or 9-yard loss because of a sack. So they're working on some other things right now with him, mostly decision-making, getting his confidence that he can audible. They want him to believe and understand it's your team. I'm just here to help you get better and use all that athletic ability you have running and throwing. But I would say down the road, don't be surprised if that becomes a weapon. Yep. Ryan Tannehill is a real good runner.
Well, he's certainly got the ability. And, the other thing about Ryan, you can't argue with his durability since he's been here. This guy's been knocked around. He's been banged around. He just gets up, gets back in the huddle, lines up, and plays again. And so, if you're worried about him getting hurt, I'd go ahead and give him a shot because it is a big deal. Hey, Josh Cook, who are our 3 starting linebackers going to be going into this season? I think that's pretty simple. Kiko Alonso, Jelani Jenkins, and Koamisi. If Koamisi, again, Koa's in that kind of category, can he stay healthy? They went and got the kid Lanzana, who's got some experience, played a lot of downs for Tampa Bay. We'll see where he fits in. But I think right now the expectation is going to be those 3 guys.
Not even close. You hit it, and again, this might be the theme of the Miami Dolphins. Who can stay healthy? Last year I watched Jelani Jenkins on that high ankle sprain start games, limp off, and then out of the game. I must have watched that for 4 or 5 games a year ago, and I'll continue to say this about the guy on the other side right now that you just mentioned too. Koamisi is, when he stays healthy. You and I just had this conversation the other day. I said, man, when he's healthy, he's as good as there is. That's why he continues to rate high, rank up there for outside linebackers. And you go, if we can just keep him healthy, he's just got to be able to play close to 16 games.
All right, does the team have expectations with Tom Brady being out the first 4 games? Sense of urgency early on, go to Seattle, go right back and go up to New England the next week without Tom Brady. You can't ask for a better situation than that if you're the Miami Dolphins to open up the season going up to New England. And I tend to be one thing today. I don't care about going to Seattle. It's opening day for everybody, man. Everybody's going to be jacked up and sky high for that game. It doesn't matter where you're at.
I hope that this team, and I know you feel the same way, Bo, I hope this team looks and says, wow, everybody's going, well, we lose to Seattle, we lose New England. Can't wait for our home opener and try to get our first win against Cleveland. Boy, I hope it's only the fans talking like that, and I hope it's not the players. I hope they're looking, saying, hey, it's a great time to get Seattle or get New England early in the season. Warm weather, everybody's healthy. We're going to be at our best. They don't know a lot about us. We got a lot of new players. Bo, whatever happened to days, and I don't want to go back to when we played and we won those games, but I hope their mindset starting with, I know it is with their head coach to get them. Why can't they get one of those games or both of them?
Hey, look, I'm all for that. Jump out and early on and catch them when they're not quite there ready and go after it. Hey, let me give you a little information here as we go on. Next public practice session will be Monday morning at 8:50. You get a chance to come out and get under the shade out there and watch the Dolphins play a little bit.
It's nice out there now.
It is great. Oh. And also with the game starting, hard to believe the preseason game start next week in New York. Be your first chance to hear Jimmy Cefalo, Joe Rose, and Jason Taylor in the radio booth. Should be fun on WQAM, our broadcast partner here with the Miami Dolphins. So should be a lot of fun. Joe, it's been a pleasure having you here. And
is that it?
Man, it just goes like it goes like
30
nothing.
minutes is it?
We had Danny here.
See the size of the coffee I had?
We had Danny here Wednesday. It seemed like it lasted an hour and a half. you had it seems like it lasts for 10 minutes.
Did I talk too much, Bo? I'm sorry. I had a lot of coffee, man.
No.
I apologize. I got a big mouth,
man.
man.
When Danny was here, we were trying to. I couldn't get the questions, so I wasn't getting the questions. So we finally got it working. I got a chance to get that in. Every show, it's good. It's something different.
We got it. This is so good. Can we do it another hour? Can you guys stay with us?
Leon says if we keep another 5 minutes, he gets time and a half. He gets double time. So, and Tom Garfinkel says nobody gets extra time. Nobody gets extra time. We don't get extra time. You don't get extra time. They don't get extra time. We'll see you next time. This was the Audible.